Hello and welcome to another episode of the Innate Ability in Health podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Kimball, and I'm going to be going over something today that I think a lot of you will resonate with. This is specifically regarding how your body stores trauma and stress and how that affects your long-term health. Why suffering isn't really necessary with your health. How to rewire your cells and your nervous system so that you can get that fast and lasting health improvement that you're looking for. So that said, I just want to go over some basics first. You've probably been told before that healing takes a long time. And for some people it does, but there's a reason it takes a long time. I put together some notes that I want to go over with you today about why that is and what you can do about it. So first thing, one of the reasons that it takes a long time is because you're managing symptoms. You're automatically going to think, yes, I have all these physical symptoms, but there's actually symptoms that have to do with your thoughts and your emotions that have to be handled before you get to handling physical symptoms, right? So I think probably more accurately, I should say, you're handling the wrong symptoms. You have to handle symptoms by getting to the root cause and addressing that on a physical level. That's absolutely true, and that will not change based off of what I'm going over with you today. However, what I'm going over with you today is that there's an emotional and mental level that is pretty much not addressed at all. I've not seen anyone in the alternative health industry or other industries that actually handle the underlying cause that's going on mentally, emotionally. Now, I will say this, some people do stress management and they're pretty sure they've got it nailed down, or they do talk therapy about trauma when they think they've got it nailed down and that's going to help. It may help a bit, but stress management, talking about your past trauma, these type of things, while they have some workability, they're on the level of someone comes up to you in life or you go up to a doctor or practitioner and it's found out that you have heavy metal poisoning and that it's spread throughout your body and it's causing your body to basically shut down. Your energy is going away, function is lessening, you're getting brain fog, and this is what's going on. So now what we're going to do with this heavy metal toxicity in your body is we're going to do heavy metal toxicity management. Okay, so hopefully that concept comes across here. Stress management is the same. We don't want to do stress management. We want to do a stress detox. And I'm not talking just about present time detox. See, when you do a heavy metal detox, you don't just go, okay, what heavy metals are you exposed to right now? Good, we're just going to detox those heavy metals. No, we go deep, right? We go, okay, good, what's been stored in your fat cells for the last 30 years that you need to get rid of? So stress handlings are the same. You want to go in and find out what's been stored in your body on a cellular level, in your fascia, in the different organs in your body, and then what has to be released. So stress management is like saying, I've got heavy metal poisoning and it's terrible, it's shutting my body down. I'm just gonna make sure that I don't get exposed to too many heavy metals in my life, day-to-day life. Body's still gonna shut down because of all that stored heavy metals that are just killing my liver and raising my inflammation in my body so it can't function by heavy metal management. So we don't do that, obviously. Hopefully I'm not belaboring this point too much. What we do is we go in and we detox the stress on a very deep level. And we don't just do it physically, we do it mentally and emotionally. What happened with your thoughts and your thought patterns after you were exposed to that stress or after you were exposed to that trauma, and how do we change those thought patterns and change those concepts of self and other detrimental ideas that may have entered into you because of the stress and trauma that you were under. And on a cellular level, we eliminate the imprints that were left. Now, this is different than memory. The imprints that are left on a cellular level from trauma, from chronic stress, from losses, these leave an imprint on the cell physically. And there's a method, it's a very simple method of alleviating that imprint so it's no longer there and it's no longer telling your cell to change its structure or to be in fight or flight mode or to not heal. So this is why I say stress management is not really where it's at. It may be needed, especially if you live a stressful life, to learn how to manage stressful situations. A better solution is to get to the underlying cause of why you find that the current life and day-to-day activities stressful. Now, I say that because I have worked with thousands of people, and over the years, I found that for example, I've worked with mothers who have several children, handle a full-time job, take care of their husband for all intents and purposes, and keep up with the day-to-day in the house and keeping everybody going and keeping the schedule of life for all these different people that she's decided to be responsible for as a mother going. And she is not stressed. Yeah, I get that. But then I'll have another woman that I talk to, and she's got one kid, doesn't have to work, and basically is a stay-at-home mom who also has a nanny, and she's completely stressed out of her mind and can't function in life. It is completely how you respond to your life situations that create stress. It's not the life situation. Now, obviously, we're not talking about catastrophic situations that somebody in a war zone might find themselves in. Obviously, under enough suppression and duress, anything is stressful in the present moment. But we are talking more about what we experience living in the US, other developed countries, than what somebody else might experience in a more severe situation. So keeping that in mind, day to day doesn't have to be stressful if you've eliminated the reasons why you consider that to be stressful. Another key thing is building up a person's ability to have the imagination and creativity to fix the problems that they come upon on a day-to-day basis. So this is a different approach. We're not talking about, I feel stressed, so I'm going to get some essential oils and put them on my carotid, and I'm going to hum and do. I'm not saying any of that is bad or trying to make it seem less. I'm just saying it's not the full solution. Yes, do all those things that help you. Physical handlings that help keep the body calm. Take your ashwagandha. Use other supplements that may help you with that. Get good night's sleep. Keep all the physical things in. But then additionally, what's really going on, the reason you aren't healing quickly, or you aren't able to get to that optimal state of health, or you have old age or aging pains in your body, etc., is that there's underlying chronic or acute stress that was never addressed, in that it wasn't looked at for what it created on the mental and emotional level. Because if this mental, let's say you had an acute stress situation and your boss yelled at you, you lost your job, and your finances went all to pieces. In that moment, maybe some thoughts developed that you aren't all that you thought you were, and maybe you don't deserve certain things, and maybe life is a little bit dangerous and you have to be careful. Any of those thought patterns, and mind you, there's usually a lot more than that are created by an intense situation like that, an acute stress situation like losing your job, having somebody lay into you, and having your finances go to pieces. That usually is a whole package to unpack. And the patterns that are created on the mental level lead to chronic illnesses. If you feel you don't deserve a good life, your body is a lot more likely to develop infirmities that affect you and impede you from making a life. That's just the way it works. So here you are, taking all your supplements, doing your exercise, you've got back on your feet, you've got all your finances in order, and you've got a family, and things are going pretty well, and you can't figure out why you're still so fatigued, and you have GI issues all the time. That incident back there when you were 23 and you thought life was just going to soar to the clouds, and maybe it has since, is still affecting you and you're not even aware of it. It's a subconscious phenomena. We're not aware of what's going on in the cellular level in our body with trauma and stress and losses and toxic personalities and all of that. Another example, a person has a terrible breakup sometime in their younger years and it really affects them for a while, but they come out of it and now they're living their life and it seems like everything's going well, but lo and behold, all of a sudden something kicks in and they come down with some sort of chronic illness, autoimmune situation. Their thyroid just won't function. They eat well, they exercise, they have a good life. They're not really under that much stress. Yes, there's finances and stuff that everyone deals with. It shouldn't be that way. There's plenty of people in worse, more stressful life situations who are doing just fine physically. What's going on? Somewhere back there, there's a traumatic situation or a period of stress or a toxic personality in this case, someone that is now your ex, maybe they weren't that good of a person and they really did a number on you when you were with them, or when you were breaking up, or after, or some combination thereof. Or they weren't even that bad of a person, but it wasn't the right fit for you, and it was really hard to get over that. And maybe they were a good person, but they weren't the one, and that was really hard to deal with. It was a major loss. I'm giving you examples. There are literally probably a million combinations, because everybody has a different life, everybody has different things in the way they think about things, but the thought patterns that are laid in there. Now, I've just been going over the thoughts and the thought patterns. Now, what about all the emotional aspect of that? You have a loss, bam, right down into a state of grief on the emotional scale. You're in this state of grief now. Do you know what grief brings in as far as making the body go in a direction of poor health? You might have a chronic illness pop up eventually because that grief was never relieved. It's just sitting there. Now, you may say, well, yeah, that breakup was a million years ago and I feel fine now. Well, that's great, but it's just like what we talked about before with the other trauma. At the time it occurred, it created a certain reaction on your body physically. And if that was never alleviated, then it's just insisted. Grief will literally insist on both the mental, emotional, and physical level. And unless it's actually unpacked and looked at through very specific and not talk therapy exercises. Again, I'm not here to rain on anybody's parade, but I would just tell you what works. And you have to understand that being able to look at something and go through it using very specific techniques to alleviate the reason that it's still hardwired into your body and causing you to have various physical ailments, and it still makes you react sometimes when you think about it, or it will pop up at the most unexpected moments. These things can be alleviated, and they need to be, right? But I'm just giving you the information that it's there. First step is awareness. You have to be aware that this is even an issue. Okay, great. So hopefully I'm not getting too far off topic here, but these are really important points for you to go over. So what are some of the symptoms that could crop up when a person has this trauma, stress, etc., locked in from the past or from the present, or combination, usually a combination of both? A lot of time, fatigue and brain fog are things that people in this situation complain of. However, hormonal imbalances are just as prevalent. And I'd say right below that is probably gastrointestinal issues, Crohn's, different, even just like having trouble with sensitivities to food, these type of things. Definitely autoimmune, chronic pain, and of course, anxiety and depression. So these are the main ones, and that covers a lot of mileage, so to speak, on your health arena. But realize your body isn't working against you. It's just got stuck trauma and stress hardwired into it on a cellular level, on a neurological level, into your immune system and your hormones. One of the first things that changes when you get under stress or when you experience some sort of trauma is your hormonal balance. Let's say someone is in a car accident, and in that car accident somebody gets severely injured. That car accident will be very influential on their future health and their future happiness and possibly even sanity, because it includes an emotional trauma, the threat of loss or loss of someone. Assuming if you're driving together, you're probably pretty close. It includes a physical aspect where you're probably injured during the car accident. So the first thing that pops up when that happens, your fight or flight hormones spike, your adrenaline, your cortisol. And when that happens, that throws you into a certain state of hormonal imbalance. It's good for the moment because you got to get reacting and get out of the car and try to salvage things, right? But let's say you have to drive to work every day, and every time you get in the car, on an unconscious level, that incident is shooting up your adrenaline and your cortisol. You think it's great because you have to get in the car in the morning, you go to work, you get in the car, you feel a little more awake. No problem. But what you don't know is that's imbalancing your hormones at the start of every single day. Maybe it's not every day. Maybe it's only the days when you drive in extra heavy traffic, or when something in your drive approximates what you experienced there. You have to slam on the brakes, or you see somebody else getting in a near accident. And maybe it's only, 5 or 6 times a month that something like that occurs. So then over the course of a year, let's be conservative here. Let's say it's 50 times, right? Okay. 50 times 10 years. You get the idea here. You do the math, and you're getting into the thousands of ranges of the number of times that your hormones were imbalanced by that trauma. And when that occurs, you've had thousands of instances, your hormones going unbalanced, your body starts to react to it more and more frequently, because the imbalanced hormones brings up the trauma, And the trauma brings up the imbalanced hormones. And we're just talking about one area of the body. Obviously, it just doesn't affect hormones. The fight or flight response makes your body go into a state where it's not healing, where you're moving in a faster rate and the flow of blood and lymph and whatnot is impeded. So you start pulling in or not getting rid of other toxicities in your environment. So being very sensitive to things in your environment, not being able to detox. Yes, they look into the science and they say, okay, good, you can't detox. That may be true, but there's people who have that and have that issue who are just fine. So what's the difference? The difference is that the person who's having trouble with that probably also has trauma, stress, insisted emotional grief type incidents in their past that haven't been alleviated. So it all works together. So it's not that the information that we're getting about health and how it works is incorrect or we need to throw all that away. No, we just need to add to it and realize there is a lot of information about how this all works together. And putting it together is very, very, very simple. But you have to realize that if you're not getting results, if you're not healthy, this is not normal. This isn't just let me go to another specialist, maybe they'll figure it out. Or I don't know why these specialists can't handle it. Then what am I paying them for? You're paying them for part of the solution. It's like you're bringing your car to the mechanic and all they do there is change tires. And you come in and your engine's sputtering, it stalls out every 20 miles and it won't go above 30. And you go in and the guy says, yeah, your tires are shot. This one's flat over there and this one's, definitely needs to be replaced. It could go flat any moment. So we're going to replace your tires. We'll even do an alignment and we're going to make sure that everything's working together, and maybe they even specialize in the gear system and they can help you. I'm not a car person, as you can probably tell, but you get the idea. They can work on the tires and certain aspects of the car, but what you really need to do is fix the engine, right? So what you need to do is work on the person driving the car as well and work on the reasons why things aren't working. Hopefully that made sense. It wasn't the most elegant analogy. Okay, so let's say a person is having gastrointestinal issues all the time and you notice that it's only when that you go over to see your in-laws that your wife or husband, significant other, has a gastrointestinal issue, or that's when it's most often noticed. So you're like, okay, you just won't go see the mother-in-law. But you have to see the mother-in-law because there's holidays and there's birthdays and there's family functions and whatnot, right? So over the years, gastrointestinal issues exacerbate more and more. And you're like, okay, I'm taking this for it, I'm taking that for it, and now I'm gonna go in and get surgery, and now I'm gonna not eat gluten forever, and great. Again, not saying that a person should eat gluten, I'm just saying that there's an emotional connection, which probably has nothing to do with the current mother-in-law, that is the reason on a mental and emotional level that the person is getting these GI issues. Handle that, and then what they're doing with their diet, going gluten-free, eating healthier foods, getting rid of the sugar, will all work. And on top of that, the amazing side effect of all of these things is that you'll have a better relationship with your in-laws. And who wouldn't want that, right? So there's no amount of supplements, diets, willpower that can fully fix your body on the cellular level if there's trauma and insisted negative emotions, grief, apathy, etc. that haven't been handled, or toxic personalities that you've had to deal with that haven't been handled fully. And again, I'm not talking about you've moved on with your life and now you're successful and happy. That's great. If something's going on physically and it doesn't resolve pretty much immediately, like within a few months from what you're doing to mitigate it. You got rid of the mold, you got rid of the toxins, you did the detoxes you need to do, and you're taking supplements, you're eating well. Everything should be fine now. If it's not, there's underlying trauma and stress and toxic personalities that you haven't dealt with. And once those are handled, yes, then everything will click and you will be golden. Now, again, I don't want you to think that you can do what I suggest and then live a terrible life dietarily, not exercise, and do things that are harmful to your body. It doesn't work that way. I'm just giving you an extra piece that allows you to really get results. I want to go over just 3 simple steps that allow a person to do this. First of all, there are actually also 3 areas that you need to address to achieve optimal health: mental, emotional, and physical. So thought, emotion, what's going on with the body. So if you're not handling the thought and the emotion, really handling it, it's on the order of another physical analogy, just because people are more familiar with these. You go into the doctor, you have a broken arm, he sets your arm, you get it fixed, and within a couple months, you're all better. It's like you never had a broken arm, it's all healed, right? That's the level of competent delivery that needs to occur with you on the thought and emotion level. You come in, there are these thoughts going on. Whenever I work with someone, there's an end phenomena to what we're doing. So you achieve a very exact end phenomena of whatever it is that you are dealing with is no longer an issue, and you're able to heal. Right? They're more specific based on what that person's dealing with, of course, but just to give you a general idea. That happens every single time, one for one. If it doesn't, then we're not done, and we go until we're done. So the 3 steps to address things that are going on the thought level, things that are going on the emotion level, are release, restore, and reclaim. These could be called a lot of things, but let me explain what I'm trying to communicate with this. First of all, you're going to release the trauma, stress, toxic personality influence on the mental, emotional, and physical level, all 3. And then, once you do that, you're going to restore whatever needs to be restored mentally, emotionally, and physically. So for mentally example, let's say you're dealing with a toxic personality who made less of you and made your life terrible, wrecked your other relationships you had, just in general was not a good human being to you. You may have adopted certain patterns of thought about yourself when you were under this person's influence or had a relationship with them. So we may release what occurred there, but then we have to rehabilitate, restore what happened to you mentally and get you into the frame of mind where you're not thinking those things about yourself anymore and you're able to really operate in life. And again, that would apply to the emotional level and the physical level as well. And then reclaim. So now you've released these things, you've reestablished healthy patterns mentally, emotionally. Now you're ready to reclaim whatever you should be able to do without those things influencing you, and you go and create your life. So we don't just do this and then hope for the best and say, okay, good, we released that, and now you're not thinking those things about yourself anymore. Okay, you're on your own. No, now we want to go, okay, now what do you want to do with this? How do you want to heal your body? What do you want to improve in your life? So those 3 steps are very important. When they work on the mental, the thought level, the emotional level, and obviously the physical level. I deal mostly with the mental and emotional. I do definitely have a very robust program on the physical, but sometimes that complements whatever a person's already doing, so we make that work. This is so important. If you're struggling at all or you have any issues, you need to take a look at this and dive in. I am always available, and I, for many years, just one-on-one, in-person worked with people. I still do a lot of that and will continue to, but I want to expand and bring this to more people because I feel it's such a deficit and it's a disservice to those who are trying to get better and are sincere and have spent thousands of dollars and lots of effort on what they're doing and time on what they're doing to try to improve their health. So I developed a very simple method. I'd love to go over it with you more. I have a workshop you can check out, a class that goes over this with slides and gets into more of the details. Links for all this are in the notes or below the video, depending on where you're seeing this. And then, of course, you can always reach out to me and set up a consult as well. I'd love to talk to you and give you some assistance if I can. All right, so that's it. Thank you so much for being here today. I wish you the best. Hopefully this provided some value to you. Go out, make it a better day, and enjoy yourself.